So inside the cabinet here, the cabinet shelves are labeled, and I like to have reds and oranges and yellows on the top, blues, greens, and violets in the middle, and then kind of earth tones, black, white, brown, those different colors are the lower shelf. And then you do not want to use the glazes on the very bottom shelf. Those are old glazes, and they're not labeled, and they sometimes don't work, so don't use them. Okay, so don't avoid the bottom, very bottom shelf. All right, so when you take the tub out, it is clearly labeled what is in it right there. And I would love for you guys to pay attention, because you'll see that they have numbers and they have names on there. And so if I wanted to use like powder blue, it has number 13 on it, and it is written on here, powder blue. You don't want to look at the labels, because the labels, these are old plastic containers that we are reusing, okay? So if you can't get the lid off, you will soak it in water to break the seal, okay? Then when you are going to shake it, find the closest trash can and shake it inside the trash can until you start to hear it kind of get liquid and move around. Because if you've soaked it in water and there was glaze underneath the lid, it's going to be spitting that color everywhere as you shake it. And then Lucas and Ridge and Caleb, they all have this powder blue all over them because I just shook it all over. You don't want to do that to your friends, okay? So shake it inside a trash can so that it's safe and you're not wearing it. Then, if I didn't say it before, please make sure that the lid is on tight before you do that. Because sometimes people will put the lid on kind of sideways, and it feels like it's on and it feels like it's tight, but it ain't. And every single semester I have at least one student that wears the underglaze. You don't want to be that student, okay? And what I mean by wearing it is if I shook this right now, that cap would pop off and it would spill all over me. And I would be wearing it. This outfit would be ruined. I would feel very embarrassed because I didn't listen. I didn't put the lid on tight. I didn't shake it inside the trash can, and now I'm wearing the glaze. This container, this quart-sized container, is $28. So when you wear the glaze, you just wasted a ton of money as well, okay? Not only do you look bad, but you wasted a ton of money, okay? So please make sure that you shake it well in the trash can, the lid is on tight, and that you are not wearing it, okay? So, then when you open it, when you load your brush, you should load the brush and then wipe some of it off on the lid, on the ridge of the cap as you pull it out so it's not dripping all over the place. And then when you paint it on, you will notice that in about 5 minutes or less, this will be dry. And you are ready to put another coat on top of it, okay? So this is a single coat right there. That's a single coat. You need to do 2 to 3 coats, okay? So that's a single coat, and I'm gonna let that sit for a minute, and then I'm gonna show you how fast it dries. The reason why it dries super fast is because, number one, the clay is porous like a sponge. And it's sucking the water out of the glaze into the pot. Okay, so that's part of the reason why it dries. The studio is pretty arid and dry naturally, and so it does, some of it does evaporate, okay? So it's not even 5 minutes and it's already dry, okay? So it's more like 30 seconds to a minute and it's dry already, okay? That's how fast this glaze dries, okay, on your piece. When you get to the second or third coat, you might notice that it takes longer for it to dry. If you want to speed up the drying process, what do you have to do? Put it in front of the fan, okay? Go use the fans just like we did to kind of stiffen up our projects and make them leather hard. You can use those fans to dry things fast, okay? All right, so I cleaned off most of the glaze from the brush as best I could. And then you may use buckets to rinse out underglazes because they're not paint and they're not going to stain my buckets, okay? So, I would like you to wash the brush with soap and water at the sink before you put it back inside the block. And you will notice that the glaze brushes do not have any tape on them. They are the clear brush handles mostly, and or they do not have tape on them at all. These are the glaze brushes, and they're in the same cabinet as the underglazes, okay? So, that is application of underglaze, washing the brush, and then when you put the lid back, if you have glaze in the lid, like you poured it in there, scoop that out and put it back in the container before you put the lid back on, because if you just tip it and dump it like this, a lot of glaze is getting all over the place, and it's not great, okay? It becomes waste, and it also makes the lid stick for the next person to use it, okay? This one actually has a cracked lid, so I'm going to try to replace that lid in just a bit. Then you return the glaze to the same bucket, container that you got it from, so that in the future when somebody else needs powder blue, they'll go to the container that says powder blue on the side and they'll find it in there, okay? So, after Friday, that center table that has all the projects on it currently, that will become the underglazing table. And I will take all of these out and uncover them and put them right there, and that's where we will return them. You won't have to come to the cabinet, okay? So that'll start on Friday. All right, I think that's using underglazes. All right, let's talk about test tiles for a minute. So I already mentioned it to you, but I want to just review it. When you pick up a test tile, if you need to know what the color is, we restart? Sorry, I didn't tell you. Okay. If you look on the back, it tells you what the color is and what the number is. So this is really red, okay? And this is just red. So there are two different reds. One's really red and one's just kind of red, okay? This is number 2. So the way that you read these test tiles is we painted the entire tile with one coat. Then we painted the bottom lower 2/3 with the second coat. And then we painted the bottom half to third with the third coat. So the top is a little kind of light, and you can almost see through it. The second one is a lot more opaque, and the third one is absolutely opaque. Also, you will notice that one half of the tile vertically is not glossy, and the other half is glossy or shiny. We put clear glaze on this half. We did not put clear glaze on this half. So if you want part of your mug to be matte, meaning not glossy, you don't have to put clear glaze on that part as long as it's not a part that you're drinking from, okay? So like inside the eyes, if you didn't want them to be glossy for some reason, you could make it so that they were matte if you wanted to. You're not drinking out of the eyeballs, okay? All right, so that is how you read the test tiles. The names are on the back, and it shows you what it looks like with clear glaze and without clear glaze. All right.